In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, I wish to state that on February 7th, the notice of this budget meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township bulletin board mailed to the Cape May County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel, Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk's Office. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded and will be available on UTTV Channel 97 on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct that this announcement be made a part of the minutes of this meeting. We'll forego the Pledge of Allegiance to the start of the regular meeting. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Committeeman Coggins.
All right, to recap from our last budget workshop, we went through the variance report. We also went through the EMS and the beach patrol. Now, where we ended up after the EMS and the beach patrol reviews was that we were able to pull $29,000 out of those budgets, 14 for EMS and 15 for the beach patrol respectively, in order to, we could move some of the equipment that they wanted to purchase over to the capital bond. Therefore, it wouldn't have to be an expense item in the budget. We also removed, that was a voluntary move on the Department of Roads. As Craig was looking at his budget, he found $6,630 that he was able to pull out of there, whether it was a redundancy or whatever it was, I'm not sure, but
I believe it was a redundancy.
all right, so where that leaves us is we're now down $35,630, and we need to get that number $35,630 to around the $340 to $350 range if we're going to make our cap. All right, so with that, there is also one decision that's hanging, and that is, are we going to go with nine lifeguard stands, or are we going to keep it at 8 lifeguard stands? If we go with 8, we're going to have to add back an additional $15,000.
You mean 9?
Yes, we're going to go with 9. We're going to have to add back an additional $15,000. So you might want to think about that as we get towards the end of our cuts to see if we're going to need that 15 or not. All right, so with that, I'd like to direct everybody's attention to the tab marked road, which is Department 81, Public Works. It's going to be a green tab. It's green. No, the one that says road. It would be green tab.
It says road maintenance.
You know what? Yeah, that's it. Road. Yeah, Department 81.
Road. Right after the dog.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, what I did was I kind of went through here and, I want everybody to take a look at it and bring any questions that you have out at this point. But going through some of the highlights, I see an increase of about $20,000 in road salt. Now, as you know, we had a pretty mild winter last year. This year has been a fairly favorable winter. I don't know what our resources are, what our inventory is in road salt. So I guess my question to Craig would be, is there any room in that road salt to reduce that line item?
Our building is full right at the moment.
Okay.
We purchased 200 tons back in September or October for the season. So the building is full. Unless something drastically changes, we may not use them this year.
What was the 200-ton cost? It's just rough idea.
12,000. It's right there where the actual.
Okay, that was the purchase for the 200 tons.
That's spent this year. Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's carried over into this year.
Yeah. So you could easily knock off 20,000, because even if we need another 2 tons to fill it up, that should be plenty to suffice for. And
Actually, well, let's,
because then we could purchase it in September again.
yeah, but
Yeah, but that 32,000, yeah, right, we could purchase it in September again.
But when do we have to adopt our budget? Sometime in March.
Yeah,
If we get a bad storm in the next 30 days, we could always plug it back in there.
right.
So,
Well, I mean, you
I
could,
mean,
you
look how
could,
much you got for 12 grand.
yeah.
I mean,
I'm estimating we have about 350 tons in the building right now.
okay.
But if we get, like, a couple of years ago, we had a couple of years ago, almost 20 years ago, we had a President's Day storm that lasted for a long time. That was almost 20 years ago, if I remember right, 15 at least.
that was an expensive weekend for us. That was President's Weekend.
Because we had people we had a couple grievances filed over pay, if I remember correctly.
So,
So 15 to 20 grand. we could-
so why wouldn't you just knock it down to 15,000, just do that and pick up 17,000 right there?
Well, why don't, I agree with John, let's take it to 20, but if we get a storm in the next 30 days, we can
We
plug
could add
something
it back
back in.
in. Yeah, if we take it to 20, then actually what that will do is for the year 2020, we'll have $32,000 worth of road salt. We just may not have anything rolling over into the next year.
But, I mean, we can still purchase another $12,000 or 200 tons.
I guess that,
You can't really purchase it because if you don't have anywhere to put it.
Exactly.
No, what he's
right, no,
saying
what we're
is
saying is if we use the
If it's
supplies that we have. Now, I guess the only question I would have, and Craig, you haven't been here in Upper Township through a storm yet, so Paul, you might have a better handle on it. If we do get a 4, 5, 6-inch storm,
You're going to use it 100 tons easy.
okay, so we basically have enough in there for maybe 2.5, 3 storms.
Yeah.
Have we used any this year? Or this winter? How about in December and all? No, none.
We've done anything this year.
Okay.
Thank God.
So we're rolling the dice, but we got time to put it back if we get a storm in 30 days.
Exactly.
So do you want to maybe agree to drop that number to 20?
Yes.
That'll be a 12 pulled out?
No, I was saying pull 20 out,
Pull 20 out.
leave 12 in.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest too.
Okay. Craig, are you comfortable with that?
So it leaves you 12,000.
That's 200 tons.
If you don't use any, then you still have 12,000, I mean, you gotta figure nature's gonna balance us out some point,
Oh, we're going to get something this winter.
well, I probably pay.
Hopefully it's water, not rain, snow.
All right. I'm going to move down to supplies and equipment. So our spend in 2019 was about $35,000. We are rolling an additional $5,500 into that line item from the sports and recreation budget. That was what we talked about, making some changes and making sports and rec strictly, things that are totally related to it. 43.5 is the number that we've come up with. Any comments on that, Craig, or are we good with that number?
It's not proposed for 2019 and what way actually brought over from the sports and rec.
Okay. Yeah, personally, I don't see a lot of wiggle room in there.
Supplies and equipment.
Yeah.
I see that's going into public works.
Right. Yeah, it came out of sports and rec, and it's going into public works. So it looks like it's a big increase in their budget, but it's actually just it's a mapping change. So is everybody kind of comfortable with that number?
Yeah.
All right. Moving down to repairs. All right, we had a spend in 2018 of about $15,000. We had a spend in 2019 of about $10,000. We are rolling in a prior period spend from sports and recreation of $7,100, and our proposed budget is $20,000.
So are those repairs for maintenance of equipment, or is that included in fence repairs and all that kind of stuff?
What kind of repairs?
Fence repairs, building repairs.
Does that include any new fencing, or is that just repairs?
It's basically repairs. It's repairs and some small projects that we talked about, Mr. Cox and I met. We tried, and you two also talked about trying to keep some of those items out of bond. So looking at what we actually spent and what we proposed, I decided to just bring that up a little, between what was coming over from RAC and what we spent, down to the 20 as opposed to adding 7,500 to the 1750. So it's, not going to work it out of that.
And, yeah, what we had talked about was some of these smaller projects are of a small enough nature that we would expense them rather than bond for them. And, what would be included in that, if I remember correctly, were some extended parking at Amanda's Field, scoreboard relocation, and adding a scoreboard. Fence for the visitor side in Caldwell Park, tennis court fencing over in Caldwell, some additional cheer area concrete, some parking and fencing for Old Tuckahoe Fields, and a backstop for Summers Avenue Field.
Okay.
All right, and it looks like some of the fencing at Caldwell's been done. It looks like they got the,
Tennis court, that was bonded from 18.
oh, okay, so that's
That's completed.
been paid for.
The other tennis court poles and the frames are all in very good shape. It's just the material fence that we will install ourselves.
Okay.
Is there anything in there on the tennis courts for resurfacing?
Not in this, no. That would be something we would have to bond.
All right, because the first one is in bad shape.
What we had talked about when we met, I think you were there, was to see if we could, tie some of that resurfacing of the tennis court in with the road project, with the asphalt.
All right.
Well, we'd have to-
also
I
talking
mean,
about maybe putting
I was going to discuss that at
a
the regular.
pickleball court in down there, so we can make allowances for any of that.
We have I was going to discuss that during the regular meeting. You want to pass out the sheets. I met with Scott and Craig and Nick to go over the road paving, because we had, in the two bonds we had, when I looked at what we have left, there's about 1.635 million in the road paving, which will get us about 6.7 miles of road. I have the proposed list that I can, I was going to hand out this evening to everyone. It did not include that paving. So
Okay.
I can look at, typically with a paving this size, I've estimated, I'll say the pricing based on how we normally do our projects. When we did that last large project in not the last one, but the one before, when it was up closer to $1 million, we saw about a 10% savings
Yeah.
in, overall cost just because of the volume. So I'm anticipating that same amount, but my estimate's based on my regular pricing. So there could be some savings costs that I can,
It's likely there'll be something that'll roll over
I might be able to have some, but I won't know that until
until we get into the project.
Yep,
That's what we did with the walkway out there before, right?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the other thing we had was the asphalt in the playground area.
That is, that's
That's
on
got
us.
nothing to do with the
That figure eight around that is in there, as well as at Amanda's Field, because of the requirement that when we got the other building, we have to build a path from that building over to the main Amanda's Field path, and the handicap parking, that's included.
We still got the repairs we got to do by the back refreshment stand.
Yes, I've included that in that one parking.
You're gonna
That's in here.
Both the entrances,
regular meeting.
both the entrances,
Yes, that's in
where
here.
that dip down is.
It's got to do with our budget.
Okay.
All right, I'm kind of comfortable with that number, 20,000 for repairs. Moving down to gasoline, we're looking at a spend of 16,000 last year. We're adding 21,000 to that. That was mapped under sports and recreation. So that takes us up to about 36. We're budgeting 40. It's not a lot of, leeway in the event that we do have a hike in fuel prices, so
That covers all of the road department vehicles that are utilized for recreation, correct? All of them?
Yes. And for public works roads.
Yeah.
Is that your equipment, is that enough if we have a major snowstorm? With the amount of gas we're gonna be burning if we're out there?
We better buy something.
From what I've seen for the past 3 years, it's all I can base it on.
Okay.
And that's including everything for the wrap, all the gas we use, weed whackers, mowers, swale mowing, everything we do is a busy part of the summer.
Parts and equipment.
Why did that jump so much?
I'm sorry?
We're anticipating issues with the trucks.
Well,
Trucks are getting.
No, but what I'm saying, we budgeted 42.5 and we spent 84.
Because we had equipment breakage.
I can explain here a little bit. This is, I knew this was going to be a little confusing. Yes, you're correct, we did budget 42.5. It looks like we spent 84, that's not totally accurate. We transferred $21,000 towards the end of this year for the purchase of 2 trailers, a mowing attachment for the skid steer, and also a new roadside mower. Again, to keep those items out of bond. She was able to find some extra funds and transfer those over. So that $21,000 got added to the 42.5.
okay, so you're at 62.5,
Right. Then
and then you get 17.
the actual got transferred from recreation, which was almost $20,000. So that's what took us to the 84. Looking at the 2020 proposed, when this left my office, it was at 62.5. And basically, that was what we proposed and what we took in from there. Obviously, the 21,000 won't be there because it was a one-time deal.
One-time deal.
So we're pretty much slick on that line, but I don't know how that number got there.
So you're saying we could take 20 grand out of here and not miss it?
That's correct.
All right,
Because it's a one-time deal.
that's a win.
How's our big mower doing?
That was put in for capital.
Okay.
All right, picked up 40,000. Let's keep going.
Yep. All right, the next line item I see is tires. And I'm going to assume this is tires for the dump trucks, the pickup trucks, utility trucks.
Everyone is around.
Garbage trucks aren't in here. Do you have any idea of the timing of the spend on tires last year? Barbara, would you have that information? Was it,
I don't
would
have
it have
it.
been first and second quarter, or would it have been with stuff in the third?
I think it's pretty much continuous throughout the year.
Second, third, fourth quarter.
More so. I don't have the printout for road. I should have printed out the detail and I could tell you better. I just don't have it with me.
Well, I would,
Wait a second. No, I don't have it with me.
I would say unless we had the majority of that line item spent in the fourth quarter, then we probably ought to leave it where it is.
We do pretty good until the trash trucks in the summer actually go through a lot of tires.
Yeah.
The hot summer, cans turn, cul-de-sacs and whatnot, and track here, they wear them out. And then leaf season, you go through a lot of tires, especially on leaf machines. Those machines are triaxles. And again, turning those in a cul-de-sac, it just, the tires.
Scuffs the tires.
We'll put tires on 2-3 times a week, not every machine, but we'll put the tire on 2 or 3 times.
Season.
A lot of that could be, I mean, I have a triaxle leaf machine myself, and I know when I tell you, especially with my tricycle tractor, I can turn that thing around on nothing, but I usually pop the tires off the rim, same thing. A lot of it, and this year I made it through my lease because I drove instead of my kid. A little driver training on how to turn that around in the cul-de-sac and make it a 3-point turn instead of actually driving around. I mean, they could probably save some wear and tear on, and I'm not saying,
So that's a trailer with 3 axles,
yes,
and it doesn't have a lift axle, it's
No.
just, yeah.
they come right off. I've had them come right off the rim. I mean, it's,
Yeah, I know.
I've seen it,
Kind of a funny design.
witnessed it.
but with some driver training though, they could probably, work on that and that K-turn in the cul-de-sac instead of, they might help it a little bit. Might not though.
But anyway, these tires are pretty much all your passenger vehicles, correct? Your pickup trucks, smaller dumpers. Okay.
All right, again, and the only other thing that I see is a little bit of a highlight here, and we may be a little fat, but not too much, is when I look at diesel. 51 last year, actually 51.5, and then we added another 10, 61.5, we got budgeted 70. Might gamble on $5,000 here, I don't know, I wouldn't.
That was my snowplow offer.
Oh, okay.
What's Tuckahoe fuel?
Yeah, that's,
What's that?
It says Tuckahoe fuel, what is
Fire, the fire department.
Fuels up.
It's minimal.
Yeah,
Fire
it is
department
minimal.
will fill up their trucks at our place and then reimburse us.
Okay.
That does go back into the budget.
so what was the school building reimbursement for the next line?
That's the same, they fuel up their pickup truck and then some repairs to their pickup truck. And again, we bill them out, they pay us, it goes back into the budget.
So it really changed dramatically between 18 and 19?
I think prior periods, that would be money that was spent on some of the summer projects that we would do at the school buildings.
Did we do school projects
We haven't
in
done school,
18?
we haven't done like big school projects for the
Yeah, we haven't
school,
done them the
probably
last
like
couple of
3
years.
Yeah, I mean,
2 or 3
that's
years.
what, it was, we had 18,000 and change, 2018.
2018 though, didn't we do some paving over there in the parking
Yes, we
lot?
did,
Yep.
yeah. And their playground and everything, we helped them with.
Yeah, but that didn't come out of, they cost, at the school.
We just
pro-
did the
property.
labor, right?
I did some engineering work for them, but they paid for all their own material.
How about the flooring?
That was a
They did a
choice.
bunch of flooring. Our guys did a bunch of flooring for them.
The
Yeah,
materials.
but they pay for material,
They
right?
bought their own materials.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think we bought the materials.
Well, I mean, I'm just, I realized that this actual spend was only $1,000 last year. We got 1,500. I just want to make sure we're not really undercutting ourselves here for one
Well,
year.
whatever is charged to the school, that, once they pay, it goes right back into the road budget, so it's kind of a wash. Even though they're showing an expense here, it really is kind of a wash.
Do we have to show that as an expense in our budget since it's a wash?
You show it as an expense and then it comes back in as a reimbursement.
Do we show it on the reimbursement side?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, any other questions on the road maintenance component?
No. We picked up 40 Gs from that.
Got a long ways to go.
Something.
Yeah, it's good. And Craig, since you're the one that stuck with it, are you okay with it? You're good with everything? Okay. All right, let's move on to recycling. The only glaring issue that I see, and I don't know if issue is the correct term, but the only real major variance is going to be in repairs. Now, You know, it's my understanding that as far as those, our trucks are concerned, our trucks are all out of warranty. Now, generally, a 5-year warranty on a garbage truck is going to include things like cylinders, multi-stage cylinders. It can be very expensive to repair. It's going to have a fairly good warranty on diesel emissions equipment that all these newer engines have. So these trucks are now out of warranty, and anything that we have to do to maintain these, we're looking at a fairly significant expense. So that's why we've gone from, you know, 5,000 to 55. Now, if you're looking at 55,000 here, you're looking at, you know, 5 trucks, 2,000 a month, $2,000 on a repair for a commercial vehicle is not an expensive repair bill.
Can money be taken from the recycling fund for repairs of recycling vehicles?
Yes, and we have, towards the end of last year, we purchased an arm for one of the automated trucks through the recycling trust fund. Yes, we can pay for repairs through the recycling trust.
How much is in the recycling trust now?
360,000?
We were originally going to purchase a automated truck out of that, but that was moved over to the bond.
Now,
so-
the mini packer, we're looking at possibly
Right.
replacing a mini packer that's 92,000. So, you know, you're looking at maybe
You're looking at,
270 left in that recycling trust after that.
yeah, I mean, you know, to replace a mini packer, you're looking at least every bit of 100,000.
We have quotes.
So, I
We have a
mean,
quote for 92,000.
So we could knock this, John, we could knock this number down, right?
so we could knock that, if we knock that number to 0, we could take any repair for this truck or the
Well-
recycling trucks out of,
Well,
Here's where I'd like to caution you. If you look at what's going on in the recycling markets right now,
we're not,
the recycling markets have gone to hell. We've been building this recycling trust with the rebates that we've been getting on recycling. It's the county, it's my understanding, has not been doing very well on the resale of their recycling because of the fact that the end user markets just aren't there. So any of this grant money that we've been getting every year, or this rebate money that we've been getting for recycling, I would count on it
drying up.
being reduced very dramatically, and if not going away in the next 12 months.
And
So
it might swing the other way, we have to pay the disposal fees for recycling.
that's exactly what will happen.
we see about 20,000 or so a year in the recycling tonnage grant that comes back to us. I would caution you too, although we can pay for repairs out of the trust fund, it's a bit of a lengthy process because it's a trust fund. Any spend has to come to you to approve first. So, you know, if it's in the budget, we can encumber it, we have our process to encumber it and get the repairs going. If, for instance, we have a meeting tonight and one of the recycling trucks breaks down tomorrow, well, we're waiting until the 24th until you can approve spend for it, so.
So, but why wouldn't we just knock 20,000 off of that one to 35,000? That way you still have a significant figure, and, you know, since we have the opportunity through the recycling trust fund, we're still giving a decent thing in there, but, you know, maybe it would make sense to take like down to 35,000.
And if we need something big, we can actually pay for it and then reimburse ourselves from the recycling trust fund.
Well, let me
We can pay for it from the recycling trust.
Let me maybe put this question a different way to Craig. And what do we have outstanding on these vehicles right now that's in the need of, you know, either short-term or immediate repair? You know, have we got new floors and all these things? Because, you know, these trucks, after a couple of years, especially the ones that are used in service, they're going to need new floors because of the contact with the glass. The glass gets ground up, it wears the floors away, and you've got to have these things refloored. And, you know, reflooring the truck's going to cost you $10,000-15,000 if you do it right.
So in other words, we have to have an idea of what the condition of our present fleet is. and what you would anticipate from just regular wear and tear.
What I would anticipate,
No emergencies,
first of all,
wear
I
and tear.
would anticipate if you have multi-stage cylinders, I would anticipate that you're probably going to lose at least one, maybe two. A multi-stage cylinder can cost you every bit of $20,000.
I have no idea what that is, but
Well, it's
I
a,
believe you.
okay, you know, your hydraulics, have you been having any hydraulic issues? Have you been,
We had a couple of summers, but nothing crazy. The biggest thing were the automated trucks.
The arms.
I know we're in the process of working to get one. They need to be replaced, the mechanisms. The one is out right now with the recycle pump. It's getting the arm put on as we speak. I think that was supposed to be $30,000.
It was.
yeah,
So in other words, this is insurance plan money that,
well, you know, in a lot of ways, I look at it and I wonder if it's enough.
yeah.
Now, if we do manage to acquire another automated truck over the next, 5 or 6 months, that will take,
Not
But
gonna happen.
are we looking at,
Not that
There's,
time
there's
period.
money in the bond, but what's the?
You're not gonna get, you're talking about a year out to get another vehicle.
There's money in the current
But-
bond for it.
but are we looking at a different type of vehicle this time? The one that has the track going up the side?
Well, it has an arm, but it's a much different configuration, less moving parts.
All right, because the ones that I'm watching that they're using in Florida now, they literally go up the track.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's similar, but it's a lot, these have so many moving parts in them. And
Yeah,
some
that-
of those are repairable, we just rebuilt one in-house. We can change pins and bushings, they're all rear items. We did that, it was about a 2-day project, that tightens the arm back up, gives it probably another year's worth of life. There's some parts of it, the main rail that mounts to the bottom of the truck, railroad track, if you will, has big heavy rollers that the apparatus rolls on. And when it's in a closed position, riding down the road, it beats indentations into that rail. And as you start to roll that out, it'll start shaking the entire truck. And that starts putting wear on everything else, and it becomes a chain reaction. You can only feather those things out with a grinder, so if you will, 1 or 2 times, and they're done. They have to get replaced, and that's what happened with this particular truck. It was done. So they have to get sent out to be replaced.
But why don't we just
The one
put
that
it,
The one that we just refurbished is close. I'm hoping to at least get the summer out before we all have to be replaced.
So we should probably leave that money alone.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, I think you have a point, John. I mean, it's insurance money there that, something awful happens to one of the trucks.
Just to give you an example, since January 1st, we've had 2 trucks that had to go out for repairs. One had to be towed, the other one was drivable. But because the manufacturer will not give up the computer data for us to use our machines, it has to go back to the dealer. So these things all being out of warranty, labor is now $150 to $160 an hour. So it doesn't take long to start. We've spent $3,600 on 2 trucks just since January 1st.
Why can't we get the information to use it diagnosis?
Because Cummings will not give it up.
yeah, it's proprietary.
John Deere, Case, they will not give it up. They want you to take it back.
Can we, when we spec out and bid a new truck, can we make it mandatory we get that information?
Well, you can to a certain extent. They'll give you a certain software package, but they only give it to you to a point. And then the other thing that some of the manufacturers will do is they will let you buy into their software every year. They'll let you renew it. But, like Craig says, there is some of the software, especially when it comes to the emissions equipment, they really don't want the general public tampering with.
They want to monopolize on the service.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, that's all that emission bullshit under the.
I understand where you're coming from, John. I think we beat this one. We do the one.
yeah.
What's next, John?
Tractor goes down.
All right, we're leaving that in for now. What are we doing?
Fat around here.
All right, moving on to trash. All right. Now, I see that, we get the same issue with the trash trucks. We're going from 10,000 repairs last year to 60 proposed. Also, parts and equipment, we're going from 20,000 to 25. They are the only things that really stick out. And again, I personally don't see a lot of leeway there. I mean, maybe, if you wanted to pull 5K out of the repairs. But again, it's not a lot of money when you get into these, dealer repairs.
It's what it is.
I say, put an asterisk next to this one
All right.
as we go through, and then we have to come back to it.
All right, moving on to tipping fees. I mean, tipping fees is pretty easy. It's, you know what your tonnage every year, you know what the price increase is. It looks like we are going to be looking at $535,000 disposal versus $510,000. Also, we had budgeted last year somewhere in the neighborhood of about $440,000, $450,000. And
That was 2018.
2018.
2019, we budgeted 523.
Oh, okay, we did budget 523, and we moved 75,000 in. See, that's what I was trying to reconcile in my head, is that,
Say, for instance, John, if the whole recycling thing, the bottom fell out, what could we be anticipating in?
Well, whatever we recycle, times the tonnage, $68 a ton, or whatever it is.
well, they still wouldn't charge you the same for recycling as trash. I think the first thing you would start to see, you'd start to lose your rebate, and then from a municipal level, you'd probably be looking at, it would start to escalate in $10 ton increments. Probably and again, you can't speak for the county, but if they started taking things like glass out of the waste stream, then they would have more of a pure recycling product, and then, you've got a little bit of value in the cardboard. Cardboard right now, I think now is $25-26 a ton.
The problem is if they take glass out of the recycling stream,
That's gonna go right back into the tipping fees.
but the problem is, how do they re-educate the people when you've been telling people for 30 years to recycle it? It's gonna be a complete nightmare.
Yeah, and that's some of the problems they're having now with the paper. The recyclable paper, they don't want the shiny paper anymore, they don't want the magazines anymore, anything with a glossy surface. They don't want the shredded office paper anymore, just because of the different processes that they have. But, educating the people's a challenge, especially when our landfill is dealing with a seasonal community. People coming from all over the country, different, and with, different programs. They're using the program they have at home.
John, just to clarify, we did budget 448,000 in 19, add 75,000 to that, that's where I'm.
Okay, so in 19, we budget 448, we put the 75 back in, that took us up to 510. Okay, gotcha. So, no, that took us up to 523.
That doesn't add up, does it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I thought it would.
70
Yeah, see, originally, the line item budget for 2019 was 448. We had a budget transfer in December. Pardon?
2018.
Right, well, what we did was the original budget item for 19 was 448. We did a budget transfer of 75,000 due to a shortage.
But that was in
took us-
December of 2000, that was in December of this year.
Yeah, that took our budget line item up to 523.
Brought it up, yeah.
Our actual spend was 510.
It's an amended budget.
Yeah.
So what did we have budgeted in 2019?
Our original,
448,000, same as 2018, initially.
Okay.
So do we think that's gonna go up 25,000 this year?
yeah, we've already gotten the increase. from the county.
Okay.
Roads and grants.
All right. So again, as I went through, buildings and grounds, I saw virtually nothing in there that,
What's the postage, if I can ask?
The postage machine, all the postage comes here and then runs through.
Okay,
Expenses for Township Hall get charged to this line.
okay.
Have we done any more research as far as going solar on some of this stuff? Like with recreation, the refreshment stands, that kind of stuff?
No.
Is it something we should be looking at to try to knock some of these electrical numbers down?
So,
Well, we currently have the co-op, and that does save, we do save in electric costs
Yeah, I
because
just,
of the co-op. Now, we can explore solar, that's another conversation.
We had looked at it a couple years of putting solar on top of the Public Works garage, on top of the EMS buildings, doing it here, but we couldn't pull the trigger because of we actually had quotes back when the middle school put solar at the primary school and at the middle school, but we couldn't implement the project because we were involved with the co-op.
okay,
Yeah, but could I have a question on the supplies and expenses? So in 19, we allocated 7,500, right? But we spent 15,000.
What happened at the end of 2018, we saw a lot of things were being charged to a miscellaneous line. So we tried really hard this past year to reallocate and give each expense a line item to itemize it better. So I think that's why you're seeing a lower number. The budget line, when you look at the 2019 line, you see half of what the actual spend was, because we really did try to re-itemize everything and, like I said, give every expense a category.
for example, if you look at the repairs line, we're budgeting down by $3,000, which is money that could have been mapped differently last year.
okay, when we get to the senior center expense, didn't we had 500 budget and we spent 11,000, but didn't we have to put a heater in there? Was that the 11,000?
There,
Heating and air conditioning.
Yeah, we put a heating and air conditioning unit in there, so now we budgeted 12,000? I don't think we need 12,000 because we shouldn't not need a heating and air conditioner. I gotta believe it's still under warranty.
One-shot deal.
I'm hoping that's still under warranty for a year.
I can take a look at that.
I mean, we might be able to, because we were 500, we spent 11, if we took 10,000 out of there, it would still make sense to me. And
Craig, have we done anything with the building down at Amanda's as far as
Yeah.
heating and air conditioning?
I don't see that heater was charged. These are water rental, Comcast for the internet, telephone, electric,
It's a lot of
pest control, a
So-
lot of the maintenance
stuff that was charged to
fees.
other.
so it's just daily expenses, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Has anything been put in building and grounds for working on the Seventh-day Adventist building? We need a new heater and air conditioner in there. We can't use the building until.
That's something that I think you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do with that building because of the other repairs that we need inside. We need to bond
Okay.
that.
Yeah, that would be, a heating system you would capitalize rather than,
All right, I'm just trying to think ahead. We can't,
Now, we gotta figure out what we're gonna do with the building.
was that correct?
We gotta figure out what we're gonna do with the building.
Yeah, yeah, we were gonna move some of the stuff from down at the community center down to there.
Which we did.
I mean, as far as the groups that use it. And then we're also looking at possibly doing, maybe trying to implement some summer camps out of there.
The only other thing that I would look at, Barbara, if you can look at last year's spend in the rec budget under field maintenance, which was $40,540. We've moved that over into buildings and grounds. Now, do you think there's any, in that field maintenance section, do you have the,
I do. for-
okay.
for-
Is there anything in there that looks like it might have been a one-time item? And then I guess keeping in mind, would that be the line where maybe we tucked away some of these project expenses that Johnny Adams was talking about?
Does this include like liming the fields and all that? Which they haven't been done in like 3 years for some reason, I'm not sure why.
All your chemicals, all your supplies, your seed, everything comes out of there.
All right, so that's us taking care of the road control and all that kind of stuff, and the fields, like right now, they're not in that great a shape. You know, and we still got a lot of work to do from the grub damage we had 2 years ago.
Get skunks.
Field maintenance, the largest expense in that line is the fertilizer program for the year.
Okay, well, let's not get
And
rid of
it's a
that.
lot of, there's some poison ivy control, organic mulch and things.
Nothing that stands out like a one-time, non-recurring expense.
We had some
No.
irrigation issues, but other than that, it wasn't
But
anything.
that come out of the irrigation
The
line.
fertilizers, the seed, the
Mulch for flavor.
Yeah, I found a place to get it
the
cheaper.
field
than they do.
maintenance is truly the fertilizer, the poison ivy control,
Stuff that we need to do every year. Okay.
the seed mix, yes.
All right. Well, I don't think we're gonna have any pickup in buildings and grounds, unless somebody else sees something that we're missing here.
Yes, we're working with the fields, if we don't have the, you know, the materials there to maintain, it's going to cost us double the following year to try to get them back again. And, that's what, we gotta make sure we keep up with our pesticides. Big time, so.
All right, so moving on to sports and recreation. We moved 141,000 into the buildings and grounds and into the road maintenance out of recreation. So what we see recreation is down about 126,000 year over year. Now, going through the upper portion of that spreadsheet, again, I don't see anything really that sticks out. We do have some, I guess, money in there for resurfacing a hockey court.
Craig, have we
he
looked
still
at
good?
the surface at the skate park too? Because the skate park, that was getting pretty ratty looking with cracks.
We have a specialist coming down from Seal Master tomorrow to meet with us to see what's going on with these. The hockey's worse than the skate park. The skate park, we think we can patch the cracks in that and maybe get another year or two out of it. That's what we're hoping, based on what he's going to tell us. The hockey's really coming apart.
Oh, I know.
It's bad.
You think it's groundwater
It's
there?
coming to the point where we're either going to have to close it or resurface it.
Is that what it is, drainage issues with it?
No,
What is it?
The only thing I can come up with, Mr. Barr, is when you have an asphalt surface, it's not contained like a roadway, it's contained generally by a Jersey curve or a curving system, and the asphalt can't move. They're just sitting out there in the sun, and they're cooked.
It's just a slab of
It's
asphalt.
hot, and it just moves. And then eventually it gets to the point where it just keeps moving and keeps cracking.
So,
There's no containment to keep it kind of in place.
so like expansion and contraction is killing it.
It's moving, but it's moving, continuing,
Yeah.
it's not coming back.
So what type of a surface in the future that we're gonna have to replace it with?
We probably end up looking at some kind of curbing or some wall structure
Yeah.
to contain it.
And that's probably pretty much what's happening with the,
Tennis courts.
Same thing with the basketball court.
yeah.
That, and the front one has some water erosion on it too. Yeah. So that seems to be following that one crack. It comes across and comes out by the far corner, by the beginning of the first tennis court. You can see the washout there. So that really needs some kind of a retaining wall or something there too to stop that washout.
Just like any other asphalt surface, and gets water in, so it's free.
Oh, yeah.
It just compounds the problem.
Yep.
Yeah. The other thing that I had to, just real quick, we're talking about surfaces, is the floor at the community center. Is the money allocated for that? Or?
No, that wouldn't be an expense, that would be capital.
Okay.
Going through these line items, I don't have any other questions. There's nothing in any of these line items that are really showing a significant spike or a significant variance.
What's the field consultant?
We want to bring in somebody that has a license and all, come out and test the soil and tell our department what we're lacking.
Well, they're not gonna test it, so they actually send it out to get stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's somebody that's schooled in it, so.
Well, we can pull soil samples ourselves
It gives us better direction for our
and send them through
to be able to
the
do.
Rutgers Cooperative Center, and they can get the soil samples.
Right now, we've got a lot of catching up to do, and that's why we thought we could bring somebody in and look at it and say, this is what the issue is, this is what we have to do.
And hopefully eventually it'll curtail some of our expenses for True Green. That's,
Let me ask you
The
this.
field,
Shared-
the field maintenance.
Could it be
expenses.
something that's done through a shared service? I'm sure we're not the only municipality experiencing this, and maybe somebody already has somebody on their payroll.
Well, there is people in Upper Township who have taken the Rutgers turf management classes,
Yeah,
and they would probably consult us. I could probably get one
no, you're probably
consultant.
talking about the same one.
I could probably get you, my son went through it, I paid him to go to school. If I told him to come down here and tell you what to do to the fields, he's not gonna charge you, because I'm not gonna beat him. But,
This is your adult son. He didn't mean to say that, strike that.
well, I meant to say,
I meant beating with cards, he didn't mean physical beating.
I just think, by having somebody like that, I
This was
think
my
we're gonna
idea, we
save
kicked
money in the long
around
run.
with John Adams and myself as far as the fields go. We did talk to a gentleman by the name of Bob Truman from Heritage Link.
which I referred you to him too.
Yeah. So, he and John Adams sat down and came up with a plan of what he would propose to do for us for the $6,000, making sure first that we got our money's worth. This is just kind of an outline of what he would look at to do to start with. Then the plan would be to incorporate him into this. Then by sending a couple of our guys for their pesticide licenses, which 2 of them start this coming Wednesday. That's what you'll see out the application for the pesticide license and also the irrigation certifications. We then could eliminate True Green from our budget and pay our own employees to apply our own chemicals to every license. So then we would have control of, with Mr. Prison's guidance, our guys put the chemicals in at the proper time, the proper thing, for the proper ailment, we have a pretty good grip on what we want.
And we
That's kind
could,
of the way we're kind of leaning.
and we could save about $12,000 having our, after the educational, having our,
Yeah. With money that we waste, and I think it's money well spent to save us in the long run. And we looked at sending guys to class, and that was something that just wasn't gonna work.
Well, you know, we talked about that for years, I'm glad that it's finally, you know, finally done.
Well, sending them, it's like a 3-month course.
No, I'm saying for the pesticide and everything that we're doing.
Yeah. I think the best we ever had with our fields was when we did everything in-house. Since we've gotten away from that, we had, I don't know, so much mixed grass out there, it's ridiculous.
So if we're ready to move on, let's take a look at the engineer's budget. It's going to be up towards the front.
Another green one.
Everybody on the same page? All right, Paul, you want to walk us through?
Yeah, the first line is for a lot of the general surveying and miscellaneous stuff. It includes all the different seminars and education stuff I go to, other miscellaneous expenses for paper, ink, I do all the large format printing for the township, so whenever the clerk's office has requests for road maps and different stuff like that, I have to plot those out. So all that kind of covers that. When we get grants, where we have to go out and hire a surveyor to survey our street or an area, that all comes out of that line item. The GIS tax maintenance, I've gotten prices from, because we're still doing he has just submitted our tax maps up to the state for certification. I guess he hasn't felt comfortable, applying those fees to us yet. So,
Okay.
He should have billed us last year for them. That's our GIS system, the clerk's office, and myself and the zoning office use them regularly to create 200-foot maps, handle property owner requests. When you see the different mapping for when people want to purchase property or adjacent properties, we utilize this online GIS, and actually that system is available to the public. It's a link off of our website, available to community people. I think I spent some time with you, John, showing you that online GIS system that we have. The maintenance of that and the hosting of that, it's hosted on their server. They're supposed to be charging us for it, but they haven't, because they've kind of included that, they kind of brought that on when we started doing the tax maps and everything. So that's that line. We started doing some green team expenses. We want to continue some of that outreach. We also want to get some sustainable Jersey signs to put out to publicize that we are sustainable Jersey certified. The DEP fees, I did show a slight increase for that because we're going to have another increase because we permitted Putnam Avenue bulkhead, so there's going to be some additional annual Thailand's license for that. So that'll go up. And those are just costs that are for all the different facilities that we have and for permits that we maintain. The consultant costs are really to hire consultants to prepare plans based on, what projects the committee wants to move forward with. We're looking at developing a wastewater management plan, to look at whether it's, sewer for Strathmere, or more sewer extension. looking at paying a consultant for that. Redevelopment plans, we have potential looking at BL England and also Marmora. The floodplain management, I think that we're going to be able to, we have a match. I'll be announcing later this evening, we received a $25,000 FEMA grant, but we have an $8,700 match that we have to do for that. The mayor and I met over the weekend with some residents of Strathmere and looking at possibly doing some living shoreline, so to do some preliminary engineering with like Dr. Farrell to look at some living shoreline enhancements in Strathmere. Those are the different, and we've also talked about extending the Harbor Road boat ramp to maybe extend it another 20 feet out to kind of give users a little more platform space on the hard surface so they're not eroding into the silty, mucky soils.
Right, but this is just a soft cost for that, right?
These are all the soft costs for that. We've already got the survey for it, so this would be permitting, and if the committee wants to go hire a consultant or have me do it, so.
So this one would include us if we had to bring somebody from outside?
Correct, yeah, these are all
Design,
consultant
all
costs.
that.
Yes, if we want to go that way.
I guess my thought process on this whole thing is still remains that I would venture to guess that the largest component of that would be doing some kind of a layout for the sewer extension.
And the redevelopment plans, both of those are in there. I mean, we could account for some of the wastewater because we did have put in one of the bonds for some wastewater. So there is, I think we put in $200,000 into one of the bonds, I think. So that you'd have a percentage of that would probably cover for the memorial. So, if you wanted to take 25,000 out of that, bring it down to closer to 100, and then, work off that with the redevelopment and some of those other projects, you probably could. If, that you could roll that soft cost into the bond.
There was a $100,000 sewer feasibility study in the 2018 bond.
So my inclination here would be to pull $100,000 out of there and then bond for the sewer feasibility study. Because
Then you won't be able to, if you take 100 out, then we need 8,700 for the match of the FEMA grant. That means you wouldn't be able to do any of the redevelopment plans that we're looking at doing, as well as you wouldn't be able to hire an outside consultant if you want to look at for Harbor Road, or wouldn't be able to do the living shoreline stuff that.
Well, the Harbor Road outside consultant, and we're gonna bond that project, we could probably bond that.
You'd have to, if you included that in the future bond, yes.
So if you took 50,000 out,
I'm just letting you know what projects are out there. It's totally,
but what do you already have your eyes set on that you,
I think we need, the redevelopment plans are critical, set for planning for the future of the township.
all right, so what would we need for that? What do you think?
At least 50. And then we have the 87, just say 10,000 for the grant, so you're looking at least 60. Whether or not we want to do the living shoreline, that's probably another 20,000 to do the preliminary study for the living shoreline.
Well, as I start to hear these numbers for these projects, it almost looks like 125,000 isn't going to be enough to cut it anyway.
Well, no,
If we were to do all of them.
Well, if we take the wastewater, we know we can bond for some of the wastewater planning, but you can't bond for the redevelopment.
I mean, do we know the redevelopment plan is gonna be coming together this year?
Yes.
I have had a conversation with bond counsel, and we can bond for a lot of these consultant costs. They are bondable, even without a project to it. So that's an option for you to consider.
So,
So as you said yourself, Paul, just taking 25 grand out is a start, right?
Well, I mean, if Barb's saying that a lot of these can be bonded, if the committee's looking at doing another, maybe you keep 50,000 in, and then you look at bonding the rest.
Well, I was thinking taking 50 out and leave 75 in.
I was, well,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think I'd be more inclined to take 100 out. Well, and
Yeah.
bond for these other projects, because, you know, some of these things are gonna be longer term.
The redevelopment, though, we're probably not gonna be able to bond for.
Yeah.
So Paul's guesstimate on that is 50.
According to bond council, it is bondable.
Oh, that is bondable, the redevelopment?
Okay, there you go.
Oh, there we go. Okay, John, you got your
Yeah, I
100.
mean, I think that's the best way to do it. I mean, that way we're spreading it out over a number of years. The only, you know, my major issue with this is if we're gonna find a path to maintaining our budget cap, that we don't have too many other options.
You're right.
And if you have a different path than
I say 100.
with bonding, then that's,
Yeah.
Just for the folks that arrived, we're not in the regular meeting, just so you know, we're just doing a budget workshop now, so if you're here for the regular meeting, that starts at 7:30, that's all. I just wanted to let everybody know.
All right, so as a general consensus here, what are we agreeing on?
100.
Taking 100 out. Okay, so we're gonna leave that at 25,000. We'll pull 100 out of there.
There you go.
Okay?
And that way we can bond for actual expenses as we go along, whatever. We're not just guesstimating.
All right. And then also the last line item in there is a recommendation for expensing $30,000 in a capital fund for demolition of unsafe structures. Now, I think we may have some other paths there too, are there not?
There is also in the construction line, there is 24,000 for demo of unsafe structures. So there's a little bit of a duplication there. Paul had recommended maybe setting up a capital fund for it, where we could continue to put funds into it. But we do also have it in the general fund, in the operating in the construction line like we had last year.
and my recommendation, really, I just wanted, really as a discussion item, I would really recommend putting it as a special reserve line so that, you know, like last year, we had to wait till the budget process to try to demo 3 unsafe structures.
Right.
You know, there should be a fund available that if the construction office has a structure that they need demolished, you know, they should be able to, you know, call the township committee and say, hey, we need to have this demolished and set aside the funds, not wait for a budgetary, you know, wait for our budget process and wait till the end of the year. If we find one in November, you know, instead of waiting for this process, and that was really my thought, was just to have the discussion to put that into a capital line, just like what we used to put in for the Strathmere Beach, you know, to build up a fund. So that if you need it, you've got some money there to spend.
Well, and if we do recoup those costs, that money will go back in.
Money will go back into that line item.
Well, I tried
You
that.
can't? Where's it go back, general fund?
General fund. And like we demoed 2 buildings this year, we haven't recouped that money yet, have we?
We have
Yeah,
But we-
I thought one of them paid off. I think one of them
I
paid
haven't
off the
heard.
lien. I think
They paid off the
I think
lien.
Rivendell came in and paid off the lien.
Okay.
I think
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Check that out. Okay, well, that's, yeah, I think from a financial perspective, that's probably a wise move. The only thing is, I don't really want to get into the demolition business. I think we should always keep in mind that before we start ripping something down, it really has to come down.
Oh, yeah, I think we go through, yeah, we have a pretty specific process within the ordinance where, you know, the construction office goes through the process, he brings me in just to kind of.
Oh, we gave the homeowner every opportunity to
Yeah,
rectify.
there's plenty of public notice to the property owner before, and then it'll ultimately come to the committee to authorize the funds.
I mean, we've gotten lucky, the building inspector, it was through that whole other process, there was another house just south.
They've got 2 more houses that he's ready that he's done the process on, that he's ready to go for demolition, but we're waiting for the budget process.
But I mean, there was another one just south of 9 and 50, and then there was another one down across from the church there. the minute he red stickered them, got after the homeowners did the responsible thing and demoed them.
Right.
So, I mean, the building inspectors,
Process is working.
the
Yeah.
process is working. And the building inspector's doing his job and cleaning up a lot of these unsightly things that got put by the wayside years ago and doing a great job.
All right, are we ready to move on to computer?
Well, did you want to, I mean, we do have duplicate funds in the budget. We have it in the capital side for demo of unsafe structures, and we have it in the construction line,
Is
so.
30 grand enough for us to do we have to duplicate it? Can you eliminate one?
You could eliminate
So
the
why don't
one.
we just eliminate one of those funds,
Yeah.
John? Eliminate the 30 grand, now you got 30.
Well, it's not even
Well, this-
budgeted, we just haven't added it yet.
This 30 that you have here for Paul,
That's additional,
that's in addition to the other 54,000.
in addition to the 24,000 in the construction line already that the construction official has recommended.
Okay, so we leave it in the construction line, and we don't add this in. Is this
No,
is
that's
this a
not in the
deduct
budget.
though, or does this 30,000 roll up into the total?
Yes,
I didn't, okay, I wasn't sure
it
of
does
that.
roll into the total. So if we take that out, that's another 30.
Oh, so you've got that rolled into the total on the variance report?
Yes.
Gotcha, okay, that's where I was,
So we found 170,000 so far tonight. We're doing pretty good.
But you want it in the capital line, not in the construction officials line, right? You want to create a capital fund for this so that those
See,
funds are
that's
available.
different, that's what I'm trying to say.
We don't know.
We still, I mean, at someplace it's duplicated, you just need to decide whether you want it in the capital line, in a capital line or in the construction line.
well, we will expense it as capital as opposed to bonding it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, a capital line would be the,
And take the 24 that's allocated in the construction officials line, take that.
remove that.
Remove that.
Yeah.
Construction
Okay, and we're
officials.
leaving 30 in, so we're only taking 24 out.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so that rolls us up to about 200,000 then, right?
Yes.
All right. So I guess we'll take 150 out of Scott's budget and we'll be done.
I've already, you mean this?
This will be a good one, here we go, Rich.
Where we at?
Which one are we on?
We're going computers now.
Computer.
Yeah.
My nemesis, where's that at? Let me get it.
All right, computer is up near the front.
Well, everything's green today.
Oh, so this, Paul, you're going to walk us through this one too?
I'll
Okay.
walk you through this one. We're all starting and Scott will jump in.
He'll be the color man?
When you look at the total at the end, from the 2019 budget to the 2020 proposed, we're actually looking at a reduction of $100.
$100.
Good.
$100.
It's a good start.
That's not enough.
So we're proposing the same system. When we start at the top, several of the lines do show an increase. We have the monthly service is going up because we have more, we've hired more personnel than we've had previous years, but the actual per user cost is gone down.
I've been told every year that it's gonna balance itself out.
Yeah, but-
And every year it goes up.
But
We haven't been hacked.
We have more employees.
It doesn't matter, it should be, they're maintaining the same software.
No, we have more computers. They have more computers to deal
There's
with.
more seat
That's
licenses.
hardware. It's still the same software.
Yeah, but the charge is based on the number of users that we have. So if we have more full-time employees, because we have a new personnel officer, we have 2 new full-timers in EMS, those new staff increase.
Yes. And they're bundled services.
The monthly backup.
So is it licensing fees, or what do we pay? I don't get how it costs more per computer. It's usually just a licensing fee that you pay for one
Yeah,
time.
well,
I can't believe we already.
we pay per user. but
Yeah,
the
you pay per log on.
Sorry, computers, this budget drives me crazy.
Well, let me throw this out there. and I didn't think of this while we were talking before, but I guess my thought is, and we're not going to have an answer to this tonight, but could we take a look at our users? And I would assume Ansero can tell us who's actually logging in using the system and who's not.
We do that every year.
I go through and make an account, they kind of print out that, and then I go back through and ground truth it, and we're paying for the number of users that we're using. There's a lot of users that actually log in that we don't pay for. In other words, we don't pay for, the EMS that has a part-time staff of how many? There probably are, that are regular,
30-ish.
there's probably at least 20 regular part-time users that we don't pay for because they're not a full-time user. There's other public works employees that are, I'll say, occasional log-on people, but they don't have a dedicated computer to those people. We don't pay for those people.
Okay, so you're not paying a seat license for every log on, you're paying a seat license basically for every piece of hardware.
For the basic people that
Have access.
have regular access and are regular users.
Daily utilization.
And every year that we've had in Zero, that per month cost per user has gone
Going
down.
down.
But the number of users has increased.
But our number of users has increased. And we audit that number every year.
Quarter.
Well, we don't change employees to the extent that we're needing an audit. So at the end of the year, kind of audit it to know, to go forward for the next year's quote.
Okay.
It also, we're paying for 5 licenses for your computers to make sure, and a lot of this is, why it's important to have one for each user is they're patching our computers to make sure they have the most recent security updates. Making sure that our computers are virus-free is preventative maintenance, because if we let the patches go for long periods of time and they're not patched and they're not updated, then they become vulnerable to viruses, and then everybody knows if a computer goes down with a virus and infects the whole network, you're going to be spending twice-fold that on trying to bring everything back up.
We, along with many other municipalities in Cape May and across New Jersey, and for that matter, across the United States, locally, we're working with our JIF and our insurance companies, because this is a huge hit that a lot of municipalities are taking when it comes to being hacked, ransomware, all that kind of thing. And unless you do this on a regular basis, and a lot of municipalities are waking up to the reality that it's got to be done. And the insurance companies are now looking at it in that same respect to say, hey, if you don't do this, guess what? You're going to pay a higher deductible. And we looked at all that. And that's why we've taken a lot of the initiative to do what we're doing on a regular basis to not only prepare our hardware, but also to prepare our employees, because we also recognize that that's where it all starts. If we don't educate our employees, that's where the potential hacks and things come through.
And when you look at a lot of our neighboring, it's not something that happens to the towns way far away. Within Cape May and Atlantic counties, I know of at least 5 municipalities that their servers have gone down and their people couldn't get access to their information, their emails have been hacked, their financial information has been hacked and stuff like that.
Summers Point had some ransomware on there, didn't it?
Twice.
I wasn't going to sit and name the towns, but there's several in Atlantic and just Atlantic and Cape May counties. You don't have to go far to find this, but when they come and look at our systems, we're safe and we're secure, and the biggest thing is we have the continuity to provide services to our residents and to be able to function without interruption, and that's what we feel is important.
We've been very fortunate to be looked at as a beta for a lot of the other municipalities. We've been recognized to that extent, and also too through our JIF.
Yeah, when the JIF did their survey of towns and what they're doing, we were probably only one of 10 that were even in the close of providing that basic service of a computer infrastructure and security that we provide.
And as a result of that, our deductible is lower. We've been recognized as a tier 2 community.
We still have run.
In the,
You need to figure out a bank card now.
in the interest of brevity here, let's go to the software maintenance line. That's
Yes.
line 12 on the
That line
spreadsheet.
is going up, that's what, our different packages, whether it's my engineering software, whether it's the admins that the, kind of the rest of the office uses, all the different software packages that we have to pay maintenance fees on, our Office 365 licenses fees. That's, if you see, that has gone up from, from 2019 to 2020 because we now have new employees that need new licenses to cover those. So those are all fixed costs for all the different software.
How many new employees do we have? 2 total?
3. We had a personnel officer and we had 2 full-time EMS. That's what I've been tracking.
For the logins, for the
For
computer
for
logins.
computer logins and software packages that we had to provide.
What? Over this summer.
When you look at projects, we're, a lot of the projects we finished up last year are completed. We are looking at essentially doing 2 types of projects this year. The one that's on the second page is the electronic archiving of the planning, zoning, and construction office. We'd like to continue that, to spend $24,000 to continue scanning and backing up those files. It makes easier record recovery for those offices as well as the clerk's office when we have over requests. Between the planning, zoning, and the construction office, that's probably 60% of the clerk's over requests come from those 3 departments, and just being able to get those files easy access is valuable.
All right, let's talk about this Azure setup and cloud
Yes.
server.
Azure we're at the end of our lifespan of our physical servers. We have 2 actual physical servers that have numerous virtual servers. We have, it's a main component server and then I'll say the file backup, data storage of all the data that we have. We're looking at, instead of every 5 to 6 years replacing those servers and having, and Sarah come in to program those and then try to transfer the data over, we're looking at moving to the Azure and the cloud, the Microsoft product, where we'll essentially have all of our, even though we essentially have virtual servers now, but we just host them our own physical servers. Now we've moved the virtual servers into the cloud, and everything will be hosted in the cloud. And essentially, when we look at the computer budget based on what the costs of how we're doing things today, we can fit that within that budget. When you look at the physical server cost, you'd be looking at $40,000
For replacement.
for replacement, plus the downtime, not really downtime, but that professional services time to reprogram those servers and then transfer the data over to the new servers.
Is there an annual cost on it, like storing it in the cloud?
Well, that's part of, when you look at the full cost of Azure runs about $47,000 per year for everything. That's for data storage and computing time in the cloud. But what we'll be able to do is the monthly backup data, we spend around $21,000 per year. We won't have to do that because
That goes away.
That goes away because Azure includes that. We'll also be able to reduce, about $16,000 for what we pay for Comcast for some of our EDI circuits, which are point-to-point data transfer for our servers between our 3 buildings.
Where it gets us this year, though, I see what you're saying, and it makes sense, and there's going to be an offset. The thing is we won't actually see the offset until the next budget year. So this year, we're actually adding expense, whereas next year, this expense will be...
Actually, there'll only be about a 1 month overlap of the EDI circuit and the
Well,
data.
I'm not talking about the Comcast circuits. I'm talking about like you said, the data would be going away.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
and
it.
it would be 1 month of overlap.
30-day transfer.
Okay, so then we wouldn't need to budget the full 20,000 for the data.
Well, you do, well, if you strike out the 20,000 out of the data, or what portion of it, you've got to add it back into, I kind of accounted for that total in there. That's what I'm saying.
I'm looking at last year, we spent $21,000 on the monthly backup.
Right.
So if we would implement this Azure program next month, then I would assume that we're going to get credit for 9 months or 10 months of the data.
Correct.
So looking at that, I'm going to assume that we're going to be able to recoup $18,000 of that $21,000 line item.
Correct, but that would be shifted down to have to add back into the Azure line, because I did not add the full, if you look at it, I only added $27,000 of the Azure cost.
Okay, so the Azure cost is actually about $47,000.
Yes, but I've done,
Okay,
I've
so
taken out, if you take if you take the 27,000 I've had for the Azure cost, plus the data, plus the EDI circuits that we're doing, it puts you to 47.
All right, so the recurring cost of the Azure is actually going to be $47,000
Yes.
as opposed to $27,000.
Yes.
And then, John, moving forward to, I know it may not benefit us this year, but moving forward in the next several years, the hardware costs are going to go down significantly because we don't have to buy, right now, we're probably paying around, I don't know, $1,000 for a workstation and a monitor and whatnot. The costs are going to significantly reduce to about maybe $350, $400 because they're considered what are going to be considered dummy terminals.
But the hardware costs are insignificant
That's the
compared to
hardware.
the software.
No, that's correct. Yeah, but still, there's going to be a reduction moving forward. So we don't have to pay
So
those anymore.
I just want to know, are we going from 20,000 to 47,000 to do backup? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, it's not just backup, it's backup and storage. What it does is it takes our servers off-site, makes them bulletproof, it gives us redundancy. I mean, it's a good plan, but I think what we've got to decide here is, and this is what I would like to see, somewhat of a worksheet on, by the next budget workshop or even before, is let's see what the recurring costs look like this year if we go with this expense, and then for the following 5 years. So in other words, what's the payoff on this?
That's what I'm looking for.
We can do that.
Because it seems like we're escalating every
Yeah,
year.
and that's what I'm kind of concerned about when you told me that this next year, the recurring costs for the Azure will be $47,000.
So we're up 20,000. That's,
Yeah, so that's the thing, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I think it probably would help us understand.
Sure.
all right, so I think we're going to have to,
Yeah, we'll have to break it off.
all right, so I'll make a motion that we close the workshop, budget workshop. Is there a second?
Second.
Let's call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carries.
So we'll take a 5-minute break and we'll start a couple of minutes after 7:30.